He was the only person I know that had millions that hung around with rappers. The only black person I know that made it to that millionaire status and that treated rappers with some kind of dignity.
We all thought the secrets would stay buried forever, but this right here is the story no one saw coming. Mike Tyson stepping forward, voice shaking, eyes full of regret to reveal what's been whispered in back alleys and late-night studios for decades. Tyson says Shakur, the icon supposedly lost in a hail of Las Vegas gunfire, isn't lost at all. He's alive, hiding in plain sight, plotting his return. And the reason for his silence? Diddy. Sean Combs, the man whose name still echoes through every unresolved feud in hip-hop history. For years, Tyson claims, he watched the world grieve his friend, forced to play along with the official story while harboring a secret that could tear the entire industry apart.
And then I heard the news. But I was supposed to join those guys. I wanted to hang out with them.
Really, though?
Yes.
You were going to hang out with them that night?
Yeah.
But you didn't even hang that night?
No.
If there's anyone whose loyalty to Shakur could withstand even a secret this explosive, it's Tyson. We've all seen the footage. Tyson's hulking frame slumped in interviews, choking up whenever Shakur's name comes up, his voice cracking as he describes that final night in Las Vegas. They weren't just two celebrities sharing photo ops. They were bonded by pain, fame, and a world that tried to break them. There's the unforgettable moment Tyson was in prison and Shakur marched into that cold, hostile visiting room, the only outsider who treated Iron Mike like a human instead of a headline. Tyson never forgot it. He is the only black person I know who made it to the millionaire status, the only black person who treated us, rappers, with some dignity. Shakur called Tyson his hero, and Tyson for years was haunted by his inability to save him. Or so we thought. Now, after all these years of sidelong glances and unfinished sentences, Tyson says he stayed quiet for one reason: self-preservation. Because as the old guard in hip-hop likes to remind everyone, talking too much can get you disappeared. But as rumors of Shakur's impending return spiral out of control, the stakes have changed. The alleged truth? Shakur's not coming back to drop a nostalgia album or star in a hologram tour. He's coming back for revenge, not just against the music industry that tried to rewrite his legacy, but specifically against Diddy, the man insiders have whispered about for years. The world remembers Diddy as the mogul who rode out the East Coast-West Coast wars and came out even richer. But in the shadows, the whispers have always followed him, that he was connected to $1 million hit contract, the same one that turned Shakur's world into a shooting gallery.
Yes, on your own platform. He said this on your platform that he put up $1 million to get Pac here.
Yeah, correct. He was around Puffy and Puffy made a comment when they was around, yeah.
Here's where the ground gets shaky. For years, the talk was always coded, spoken in careful riddles, at industry parties and in dark studio corners. But as time's gone on, and as indictments pile up on Diddy like unpaid bar tabs, some players are getting bolder. It's not like the olden days of the Italian mob where everybody kept their mouths shut, says one retired LA cop. As soon as somebody has handcuffs on them, they'll sell out their own mom now. Dwayne "Keefe" Davis, now sitting in a Nevada jail, has claimed, not once, not twice, but repeatedly, that Diddy put out a $1 million contract to silence Shakur and Suge Knight once and for all. Officially, Diddy calls the story pure fiction and completely ridiculous. Off the record, even former associates say Diddy's survival instincts have always been stronger than his sense of closure.
3 law firms on retainer. I don't know how much money is coming in, but I know that a lot of money is going out every single month for Diddy.
Think about it. While Shakur was dodging shadowy figures and allegedly orchestrating the most infamous disappearing act since Elvis, Diddy's bad boy empire was everywhere. Billboard charts, Hollywood galas, Ciroc deals. The man became a one-person business conglomerate, and all the while the murder investigations, unsolved mysteries of Shakur and Biggie drifted into the background, but every time the LAPD or FBI got a new lead, the same names would float back up. Detectives, writers, even rival rappers couldn't let go of the theory that Bad Boy was more than just a catchy label. Other people carried out acts for him, and he kept his hands clean, an insider told the Post. And just to make sure the myth never fades, you have Suge Knight himself telling TMZ in 2014, "Why you think nobody been arrested if they said they the one that did Shakur? Because Shakur not gone. If he was, they'd be arresting those dudes for it. You know he's somewhere smoking a Cuban cigar on an island." Which brings us to the real catnip for every conspiracy junkie, the so-called Cuban connection. Old Havana, a place where revolutionaries and fugitives have always found a second life, suddenly becomes the stage for late-night Shakur sightings. There are photos, grainy yes, but good enough for 1,000 YouTube breakdowns, showing a man who looks exactly like a 40-something Shakur, sunglasses, goatee, and all, lurking in the background of a Havana club. There are videos of locals swearing they've seen the rapper from America walking the narrow alleys, and even supposed audio of Fidel Castro himself approving Shakur's asylum. The fact that Shakur's aunt, the notorious Assata Shakur, has been living as Cuba's most famous fugitive for decades. Just one more piece in the puzzle.
Let's talk about it, man. So you feel like it was bigger than Orlando shooting Pac. You feel like it's more to the story. You don't think it was that simple.
I feel like it's big.
And it's not just fans making this up for TikTok clicks. Michael Nice, a former security officer, claimed he personally helped smuggle Shakur out of the US, slipping a body double into the hospital bed, then flying the real Shakur to Barbados and on to Cuba. There were hugs and handshakes when we finally managed to get him to Barbados. Then my brother helped him get to Cuba from there. Was Nice the architect of the greatest vanishing act in pop culture, or just another hustler looking for 15 minutes of posthumous fame? Well, Nice was found unresponsive, reportedly deceased, not long after teasing his supposed video proof it. Fans went wild, as if the ghost of Shakur himself had just dropped another Makaveli album.
But, I'm not surprised. We all know who he is and how we get down, so that don't surprise me.
All of this would be just a fun late-night campfire story if the real-world stakes hadn't suddenly jumped into the stratosphere. Right now, Diddy is in the kind of legal and reputational crisis that could make even a billionaire sweat through a designer shirt. The same week-old rumors about Diddy and the East Coast-West Coast rivalry are swirling. Federal agents are raiding his mansions in LA and Miami, looking for evidence in a case that now spans everything from racketeering to coerced freak-off parties. Diddy's attorneys argue he's just an eccentric superstar, a swinger, not a predator. The government says otherwise, stacking up witnesses who claim Diddy's empire wasn't just built on chart-topping singles, but on a network of silence and intimidation. We can't ignore the timing. With the only surviving suspect in the Shakur shooting now indicted and Diddy's closest circles finally cracking under legal pressure, the old myth starts to look less like a fantasy and more like unfinished business. Why would Mike Tyson, the man who loved Shakur like a brother, who once broke down on live radio remembering the last time he saw him, suddenly speak out? Did he reach his limit watching Diddy waltz through scandals while the world pretended not to see the bodies, literal or otherwise, left in his wake? Or is Tyson's revelation a signal to the old guard that the time for secrets is over and Shakur's return is about to become the worst plot twist in Diddy's story?
Pac would have boxed him. Pac would have loved to beat his ass in the ring, raise some money, and give it to the hood.
For all the talk, for every Makaveli lyric or fan theory about why the autopsy didn't add up, there's the undeniable sense that too many powerful people have spent too long keeping the lid on what really happened in 1996. Locals in Cuba say they've seen Shakur. Former associates insist he was smuggled out by people connected to his own family's radical past. And now, with the music world's biggest scandal magnet facing the possibility of a lifetime in prison, or at least the kind of public disgrace you can't Ciroc your way out of, the air feels electric. If Shakur has been alive all along, who helped him escape? And why does his reappearance now spell danger for Diddy?
Every time we have somebody, like we had Tyson. Tyson was a perfect outer-city hero because he represented us because he was always on the edge.
If we're tracing the real escape route, we can't ignore what happened that September night in Las Vegas, the night when all the myths were born, and if the whispers are true, the perfect cover was set. The Tyson-Selden fight at the MGM Grand was the hottest ticket on earth, drawing the entire entertainment underworld into one buzzing, frantic building. In the chaos that exploded after the final bell, as crowds flooded the strip and sirens split the air, the usual lines of reality and illusion blurred. Security cameras rolled, bodyguards barked into radios, limos lined up like dominoes. But who would have noticed one superstar slipping out a side door with the help of boxing's most feared champion? Several insiders, including one ex-bodyguard who's never quite left the limelight, have claimed Tyson wasn't just a bystander that night, he was the shield, the decoy, maybe even the getaway driver. There's no denying the access he had, private entrances, trusted handlers, and friends on every level of the Las Vegas power structure. The city may have belonged to the mob once, but during a Tyson fight, Iron Mike ran the show. He could make hotel security vanish, call in favors, and if the conspiracy machine is running hot, secure a jet within the hour. We know Tyson's circles included everyone from politicians to club promoters, so who's to say he didn't pull the right strings in the right moment to make Shakur's disappearance happen?
Admirers. Mike Tyson, a champion once again, makes it 2 for 2 over Frank Bruno and ups his record to 40.
As we retrace those frantic hours, questions multiply faster than answers. What happened to the surveillance tapes from backstage that night? Why did some witnesses claim to see a second, nearly identical vehicle racing away from the scene after the shooting? Who made the call that jammed local police scanners right as chaos erupted? And what about that mysterious jet, supposedly waiting at a private airfield just outside the city, refueled and ready for an unlisted midnight departure? A former flight dispatcher insists there was a Gulfstream on standby with a destination listed as personal business Barbados. We have to ask, is that coincidence? Or was it the first leg of Shakur's legendary escape? Of course, Tyson has never publicly admitted to anything beyond grief, but his silence may say more than his tears ever could. In his own words describing that time, Tyson once confessed, "It's very difficult to talk about. He was a young kid that really wanted to be great, and that happened." The weight of that, "and that happened," has haunted fans ever since. In the coded language of the old school, what Tyson doesn't say is often louder than any statement. Was he protecting Shakur with a wall of silence, hoping to outlast the assailants, the cops, and the industry insiders who all wanted a piece of the truth? Fast forward to the present, and the streets aren't the only things buzzing. If Shakur has been out there all this time, dodging cameras in Havana, walking old Havana's sun-bleached streets, sending word back to a chosen few, why would he risk returning now? We can't ignore the timing. Diddy, once the indestructible mogul, now finds himself under siege from all sides. The headlines are relentless. Raids, lawsuits, accusations, and a courtroom drama that reads more like a tabloid fever dream than real life. Human trafficking allegations, racketeering, a criminal enterprise sprawling from Miami to Manhattan. Even the racketeering laws designed for mob bosses are now being turned on Diddy's own empire. Suddenly, the man who survived every music feud and business betrayal is watching his walls close in.
I don't think they are scared of him. I think they more so, they don't want him to embarrass their reputation and things that they've been known for. You understand?
And just as the foundation shakes, the old specter of Shakur comes roaring back. Former gang insiders, retired cops, even the LAPD's own Greg Kading have revived the theory that Diddy's empire was built on more than platinum records. The so-called million-dollar hit contract on Shakur, the gun in the Cadillac, the secret meetings at Hollywood delis, these aren't just barbershop rumors anymore. With the last living suspect behind bars and prosecutors hinting at bigger fish, the climate is perfect for secrets to bubble up from the underground. Would a public reappearance by Shakur finally force Diddy's world to answer questions that no court has dared to settle? Legal analysts have already started mapping out the nightmare scenario for Diddy. If Shakur's return links the old crimes to the new charges, if he testifies or even just releases a video confirming the real events of 1996, Diddy's fortress could collapse overnight. All the Teflon armor in the world won't stop a scandal that connects the biggest music war of the last century to the hottest criminal case of today. And the insiders are nervous. One bad boy veteran reportedly told friends if Shakur comes back, it's over for half the industry. That's not just old business. That's payback. For years, the truest believers have pointed to the cryptic clues embedded in Shakur's posthumous masterpiece, the the 7-Day Theory, as the ultimate roadmap to this saga. Released under the alias Makaveli a mere 2 months after his supposed exit from this world, the album's cover alone sent shockwaves through fans. Shakur nailed to a cross, staring defiantly as if mocking the very idea of martyrdom. Some call it blasphemy, others see prophecy. The imagery, they argue, is no accident. Makaveli wasn't just a name. It was a coded signal. Italian philosopher Niccolò Machiavelli, whose writings explore the power of illusion and the strategic use of faking one's own demise, was Shakur's literary obsession during his final months. In fan forums and documentary exposés, countless theorists have dissected every brushstroke and liner note, convinced Shakur was tipping his hand, telling the world that a resurrection was inevitable.
I think that they don't want, if they was in any of those freak-off tapes, if they played a part in any of those Diddy sessions, they don't want it to get out to the general public to make up their brand.
Even the album's lyrics and track titles seem loaded with subtext for anyone willing to read between the lines. Songs like Hail Mary and Blasphemy twist religious symbolism into warnings, while Makaveli's voice floats above the chaos, alternately vengeful and visionary. In the closing pages of the album booklet, the phrase "Exit Shakur, Enter Makaveli" appears, interpreted by many as a direct statement of intent. For those deep in the conspiracy, this is no coincidence. The 7-Day Theory is supposedly a reference to the 7 days Shakur survived after being shot, but it's also invoked as a nod to the biblical creation story, suggesting Shakur was crafting his own mythos, preparing for a rebirth only he could script. The anagrams and numerology that fans have uncovered from Makaveli, rearranged as Am Alive K, only add more fuel to the fire.
This is the generation of rappers that Tupac was warning about. To the niggas get a piece. To the poor kids get this, you know. So this is the generation that, if you go back and listen to Tupac's lyrics, He was warned us that these young kids were coming, that we was gonna have a race of babies who make the babies that hate the ladies.
This cryptic legacy, played out in album art, timing, and the riddles hidden in Shakur's lyrics, has taken on the weight of gospel for those who refuse to believe the official story. It's not just about faked passports and vanished bodies. It's about a narrative Shakur engineered for himself, brick by brick, clue by clue, daring his fans to keep searching for the truth. If he really is alive and ready to return, maybe it's because the comeback was always the final act, a plot twist decades in the making, hidden in plain sight since 1996. Yet, we can't ignore the danger for Shakur himself. If he's been in hiding this long, it wasn't for vacation. The people who supposedly tried to erase him the first time aren't going to welcome him back with a fruit basket. He'd be facing a whole new world of threats. The old street enemies, unfinished business from the LA underworld, and a global media circus that feeds on controversy. Every move would be under a microscope, every old friend a potential informant, every interview a calculated risk. As much as fans would celebrate, the forces that once conspired to end his story aren't going to sit back and let him rewrite the ending.
Now, I want to touch back on something before we wrap up this interview, because you spoke on Tupac earlier. And it's funny because I just made a post about Tupac on Halloween because in '93, I think, Tupac shot 2 police in Atlanta.
Yeah. 2 off-duty cops, yeah.
The story also stirs up old ghosts for everyone else caught in the crossfire. Suge Knight, locked up but still pulling strings from his cell. The Shakur family, who've never stopped fighting for justice. And the industry's upper crust, who've spent decades building fortunes on the mystique of Shakur's legacy. If Shakur shows up, alive and ready to talk, who else might get dragged into the light? What secrets are waiting to break out of those sealed court records and dusty recording studios? Meanwhile, Diddy's defenders keep spinning. His legal team paints him as the victim of vendettas and jealousy, a man guilty of nothing more than a wild lifestyle and bad choices in friends. But the prosecution keeps dropping bombshells. Tapes, testimony, bank records, witness after witness, painting a picture of a world built on intimidation and cover-ups. The verdict may not be in yet, but the verdict in the court of public opinion is starting to tilt. And Shakur's return could be the final straw. So what do we really believe? Is Mike Tyson the ultimate protector, a loyal friend who risked everything to help Shakur vanish into legend? Did Diddy's ambition set off the chain of events that changed music and maybe American crime history forever? Or are we all just pawns in the greatest story never told, still waiting for one last act to play out?
You know, when it comes to rewriting history, it's trying to rewrite history.
If Shakur is truly alive and getting ready to step back into the public eye, he's walking straight into a hornet's nest. What new threats wait for him now that his secret might be out? Will Diddy's empire finally topple under the avalanche of decades-old scandals? Or is there one final twist none of us saw coming? Drop your wildest theories in the comments because this story is only heating up. Until next time, keep your eyes open, your ears to the streets, and never, ever bet against a comeback.